Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jump Up Supercast, the only podcast on the internet where every single member is a tennis champion of the world. Joining me today, Brandon.
I want to be your end game, Will.
Noah.
I actually got a medal in tennis in real life.
Saf.
Shit, I don't know any tennis references. Fuck.
and,
I was too busy thinking of like...
and Muzi.
That's how you know Saf is back, when it immediately starts with shit.
It's true. It's very true. We do not. I've had this thought multiple times that we don't have an explicit rating on iTunes, but every time Saf's intro always involves a swear.
It's just every time, every single time we start this podcast, and Saf's here, he will say he will curse some way or somehow.
He is.
I'm Scottish. I can't help it. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Man, but we do have Saf back. Everyone, Saf's back.
Yay! Welcome back, Saf.
Welcome back. We
Good to be back.
finally recorded at a time where Saf was not tucked into bed.
He's probably
So,
in bed, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in bed, but he's not tucked in. You know?
Rat bastard.
Yeah. Perpetually.
So Saf, how have you been specifically?
Specifically, that's a very odd question. I've been doing fine. I managed to play a few games when I was away.
Oh.
Like
Well, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Hyrule Warriors, Flip Wars.
Flip Wars. What are you doing?
Flip Wars, oh yeah. Who did you play Flip Wars with?
I played with my two friends, my two great friends, Brandon and Muzzy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This week?
This week.
like
Earlier
20 minutes ago.
Yeah, half an hour ago, maybe?
What are you doing with your lives? Okay. Well, I was gonna say, so you're doing good, but you play Flip Wars, so you're doing bad. But we're
no,
glad to
no.
have you.
No. We had a great time, all right? Game of
yeah,
the
we
year,
did.
some would say.
I'm ready for Runbow.
One bro, when?
We'll see. Well, who knows? Maybe it'll happen one day. But with all that pleasantry having been said, this week, boys, we got news. We got more news. Always have news.
Shit.
This week, we got real big thing. Might get heated. Well, hopefully we'll all, handle it well. We got a big announcement from a big Japanese company, Nintendo, the Pokemon company, Game Freak. You may have heard of them. They announced a
Give me a
game.
history lesson. I've never heard of them before.
Well, back in. Let me tell you about what's the game they made?
Game Freak? Pulse
What's the
Man.
game?
I remember that game.
Pulse Man, of course. That's their biggest franchise. They announced Pokemon Let's Go Pulse Man.
Yeah.
No, they announced Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. We talked about the rumors of this a couple weeks back.
Never saw this one coming. Never did. This definitely the first time I've heard of this one.
A thing I didn't note back when we talked about those rumors, because the rumors came into fruition after we saw the logos get leaked.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that leaked essentially everything about this game got it all right. He did it on April 1st.
Yeah,
April 1st is the day he leaked it, though. What a troll. You did it on April Fool's Day. What a scumbag.
What a better day to leak something, Just throw some shit up on 4chan on April Fools. No one's gonna listen to you, That's the best day to do it.
Yeah. But also no one's going to listen to you, so
No,
who knows?
exactly. You don't want them to. Until they come back later and they're like, oh, shit.
Oh my god, this guy's a brilliant man. Yeah. But let's get into what exactly the Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee is. It is a Nintendo Switch game. It is not the Nintendo Switch game they announced last year at E3. It is a remake of Pokemon Yellow with the 150 Pokemon, 151 Pokemon, and one new one. It has integration with Pokemon Go. You can transfer Pokemon from Let's Go to Pokemon Go, and you can transfer items from Pokemon Go
The other way around.
to Let's Go.
The other way around.
You're right, the other way around. I'm sorry. There's a lot of Go's and Let's Go's.
Yeah,
I might flip that a couple of times. Catch me if I do. And you can transfer items from Pokemon Let's Go to Pokemon Go.
Oh, boy. That's actually good. I need that shit.
Yeah. There is going to be... catching will be like it is in Pokemon Go. So that means you are chucking a Pokeball. And there are no wild Pokemon encounters in the game. Or there are wild Pokemon battles, I should say. There are wild Pokemon. The process of catching is the process of getting them. However, there are still trainer battles where there's the same Pokemon battle system that is in the mainline games. A few other things along the way. A couple of pieces of misinformation have been spread around about this game. There is online. It's part of the Switch Paid Online. There was confusion about that because of mistranslations that occurred during the Japanese media event where the game was shown off in more detail. But that's sort of the long and short of it. And so I guess I want to lead off with this question, because there's a lot to get to here. I think this is more of a spin-off than we expected, right? It is more different from the main core Pokemon formula than I thought it would be. Do you think that's ultimately a good thing that it's separating itself more from the mainline core Pokemon games, or do you think that ultimately it's a thing that you would prefer the other way around, that it was tied more?
Change is good. I like change.
I like when they experiment with new things, but since we are getting the mainline game in a year down the line, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm just worried about how good these changes will be.
Sure.
I mean, that's always a nebulous thing.
I mean, I personally
to me,
don't
it's a good thing.
care if it's mainline or core or whatever. Like, especially because we know what next year's games are to an extent. You know, we know they're in the style of Sun and Moon and X and Y. We know that it doesn't take influence from Pokemon Go. You know, like those.
That's the thing that I should mention really quickly is that they've, as a little neat tidbit of information, they said they've been working on Pokemon 2019 since before Pokemon Go came out. So that gives us a time frame on how long they've been working on these games.
So
but, like you were saying,
these games have been in the oven for a long time. You know, not Let's Go, but the new games. And as they were making those, you know, that's when Pokemon Go Mania happened. You know, and I assume plans kind of shifted around at that point, right? And they decided to make this Let's Go game. But I don't know. Like I'm fine with this exists. I don't really care what it is, whether it's mainline core. I'm fine with this existing though. In fact, I'm quite happy it exists. But yeah,
I'm just wondering if they decided to make this game while they were making the main games, like how good of a game or how much effort did they actually put in if they made it this quickly?
I mean, for one, we could kind of see it's mostly looks like Sun and Moon engine, right? Like this is I mean, like not to shit on it too much, but it looks like a 3DS up port. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of.
I mean, it's clearly using that as the base, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and the thing was that Pokemon was always going to sort of, in some ways, because the Pokemon models were future-proofed, so they were never going to redo the Pokemon models for HD, right? And we've already seen them in HD because of Pokemon Go. But like you said, the overworld is very clearly styled. One, I mean, because it is Kanto again, it is styled in a very tile-based, very like the roads are all pretty square off. They're rectangular because that's how they used to look, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, what's nice is like they didn't have to model. They didn't have to design a new region, right? Like it looks like Kanto's been recreated 1-to-1, you know. So it's like you add all these things together, and it's like okay, it makes sense that they're able to pump this one out so quickly, you know. Like it makes sense.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if there's like a lot of asset shading between the two games, like, because I kind of expect.
I mean, I think next gen is going to be a big jump. You know, don't get me like.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because like you know, before X and Y came out, everyone was kind of like, you know, it's fucking Game Freak. They'll do sprites again, and it's like, no, surprise! Here's a fucking full 3D game come out a year after Black and White 2, and then like a few years later, it's like, oh, next generation Pokemon. It'll probably mostly look like X and Y, but no, Sun and Moon's a pretty big jump from X and Y, you know? Like, that was a fairly big jump in graphics.
I can't help but feel like Gen 8 will be a very, very big jump graphically.
Yeah.
And just as presentation.
At the very least, it'll look like a made from the ground up for Switch, you know? Like, it won't give us the vibe of,
Hopefully.
like, this was upported from the 3DS.
Yeah.
Which will be very exciting. And see,
yeah, because that's what I meant by it's like a lot of asset shading between Let's Go and Pokemon Switch 2019 because I feel as though like I'm sure like a lot of Pokemon you've seen Let's Go would be just the exact.
I mean,
same
the Pokemon models will be the same, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But like, outside of that though,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of work to be done. I think for it to look like up to par with Nintendo's other efforts on the system.
Yeah,
like let's be honest, this does
3
look
years worth of work.
like this doesn't look as impressive as Odyssey or Breath of the Wild or Mario Kart or Splatoon. Like.
Mm-hmm.
But but that's fine for these games. I'm okay with that. It's for Let's Go. It's fine. I don't know.
That's what I've been like thinking. I mean, when we asked earlier, are you okay with the changes? Like, I'm okay with these changes only because it's not a main series game.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm okay with these changes. They like aren't changes that I all like, but I'm okay with them just because they're. If these kind of changes happened in a main series game, I'd be very upset with.
Yeah, there's concern there because the core of catching is fun in some way. Like having
it is
battles
fun to
is something you
battle
wanna
and
engage on.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is gonna be an unpopular opinion in this room, but like, I wouldn't mind if this style of
that's
catching
a very very unpopular opinion.
Yeah, I know. I know. I think the act of catching Pokemon in Go is fun. I really do.
I
think that not replacing the former catching mechanics whole cloth is the thing that I want to avoid, right? Like,
Sure.
you can, if you want to add on like if you look for our entire childhoods, I don't know if you guys heard it, but the classic, like, press up and B at the same time, it increases your chance of catching a Pokemon. Like, press left and right with the shake, it increases. Like, at our school, there was just a million different ways that you could supposedly make it easier to catch Pokemon. They were all obviously fake, right? But I think the idea of, like, adding some action mechanic to the act of catching Pokemon is fun, but you should still have the core idea of a battle, right? Of, like, weakening them and yeah.
If they blend it with the core, the way we used to, I think it could be something really fun. Like.
Yeah, making it
just keep the motion controls and just make it's still a battle. You have to weaken it. You have to put it to sleep so it makes it easier to catch him. And you can keep the motion controls. Those don't take out.
Yeah, but at the same time, this is what I always complain about in Pokemon Go, but I don't mind it in Pokemon Go because it's its own thing. But like when you can miss a Pokeball throw, and I always tell people. You can't do that in the game. In the game, you can't miss a Pokeball throw. And thank God, because you'd be very mad because you had to spend in-game currency to, buy those Pokeballs. In this game, you just get them for free. But
yeah,
if you had to buy Pokeballs and you could miss your throws on, like, legendaries and stuff, it would not be good. And I would not like that.
Well, that makes me wonder, how is the in-game economy going to be like, right? Because you're gonna need a lot more Pokeballs than you're used to.
Yeah, you're gonna need a lot more Pokeballs. Yeah.
So I wonder about that.
Well, I mean that's a good question, right? Like, that might be part of the thing. Is just that Go, you can share items or whatever potentially. I don't know. And so there's a couple things that I want to mention too that I think are exciting on the presentation front because we talked a little bit about it. All the Pokemon, all 150, will follow behind you. If they're big enough, you'll automatically ride that Pokemon in the overworld.
So good.
Which is very exciting.
Flying on a
Dragonite.
Charizard made me feel something. It made me feel...
And the Pokemon are to scale, right? So, like,
Yes.
this is a situation where, like, the Onix, when you ride an Onix, it's a big guy. Like, it doesn't look the same as on the overworld as a Eradicate, for example,
Yeah.
I saw a Psyduck walk past a Pidgey and I felt very weird because I know in real life ducks aren't that big.
Psyduck's a big duck, dude.
Psyduck's a big
girthy
boy,
Freaked me
though.
the fuck out. It freaked me the fuck out. I don't want to see this at all. Like,
I just want Gen 3 to come in so I can see my Warlord.
Wailord will be nearly impossible
I
to
think
implement.
that's partially
Not gonna
why this is-
happen, bud.
Yeah. That's why it's kind of exclusive to this game, though, because I don't think you can make it feasible. You can't do Wailord to scale. Onyx is not anywhere near as big as Wailord, and he fits the whole screen. I'm just saying.
Well, it's interesting to look at because if you remember when Sun and Moon came out, data miners found that there were models that they had done for a lot of the Alolan Pokemon to follow behind you. Yeah. But they were very chibi and they were very like truncated versions of their models. They were not
Yeah.
Where in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, they are the battle
They are
models.
to
They're the same.
scale.
They're the exact
Well,
ones.
here's hoping for Gen 8 to have that.
That would, I mean, it's a tall ask, but like it would be very cool if they could. But it's like 900's a big number, you know. But hopefully,
I could take it or leave it. Honestly, I mean, it's kind of it's like a novelty thing. It doesn't really matter.
I know it doesn't affect gameplay at all, but damn, I love it. Like I just it just adds to the immersion, you know, like to me, like that's always what I enjoyed about Pokemon, you know, it just feels like this living, breathing world, and having this feature just adds so much to that, you know. My bond with my Pokemon is stronger if it's next to me, or if I'm on top of it. You know, it's just
sure.
That sounds dirty.
On top of it, differences. Don't talk about bonds while being on top of Pokemon. That's
get your nasty.
Man, my bond with my Gardevoir, man.
Oh my
no,
god.
we're good. Not riding that one. Nope, we're done.
Moving on.
Not interested. Jesus. But I think besides Moose being an awful nasty man, like I do think that like, you know, I'm like split between Moose and Brandon, where like I get why it wouldn't, like, it's not core to the series, obviously not core to what it's happening in the game, but it's also like it's still fun. Like it's just fun to like. I liked Pokemon Ami, which is coming back in this game because of the fact that like it lets you like look at an Ekans eat food, right? Like it was fun, like hold a bean in front of an Ekans, it would rise up and like eat it in one bite, and I was like, oh, that's how an Ekan would eat his prey because it's a snake, you know. And I think
Don't
that, like,
try to feed a Regigigas and freak you out.
no, God.
He doesn't have a mouth.
Yeah, it just disappears. But I think that like one thing that I would be excited for out of HU development from Pokemon is that you can just now leverage these cute creature designs that you have in a way where they can be more expressive. You know, like there's just one part in the trailer, it's like 2 seconds, but where it's a little Eevee, because the two main Pokemon, I guess we should say, are Pikachu and Eevee. You cannot evolve the storyline ones, but there are other Pikachus and Eevees you can catch in the game that you can evolve, so you can still get a Raichu and still get all of your evolutions, the original 3 at least. But the Eevee just paws at the trainer's hand, and the trainer is just like, this is the cutest little thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And like I felt the exact same way. I was like, look at this cute little fox creature. He's very adorable, and I just want to hang out with him. And like that's, I mean, on some level, that's all I can ask for out of a game like this. If it's not going to be a big mainline Pokemon game that's core, there's an appeal just to walking around with Pokemon and having a good time. But Brandon, I meant to ask you this. As a person who plays Go on a regular basis,
Yeah.
do you feel like it's, because I was speaking to a guy who does still play Go in my real life, and he was like, oh, it's cool, like I'm getting rewarded for playing, right? Like I can just have a whole team ready to go on day one. Do you have any interest in that in any way, or are you sort of like, I want Go and Let's Go will probably still remain sort of separate things for me?
I think the main thing that interests me is being able to get bonuses in Pokemon Go from this game. Not this game from Pokemon Go. Which is weird, I guess. But like I'd rather get bonuses in Pokemon Go from playing this game. I don't care about getting bonuses in this game from playing Pokemon Go. It's almost like I care more about Pokemon Go than I care about this game, which is weird.
I mean, you're 2 years into that game, you know, like that's a weird. That's
2 years into it. Play it every single day. So,
I think the more of the reason for that is because with this game, you can kind of just farm whatever you need and get stuff that you can get much easier than you can get stuff in Pokemon Go. So it's more beneficial to you to add things to Pokemon Go from this game than it is the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also excited to get whatever that present is they showed at the end. I don't know if
I was going to ask, if you had to make a guess right now, they say there's one new Pokemon in the game. Oh, I should also mention there's also Alolan forms will be in the main game, that of the original 151.
But that doesn't make sense.
Wait, all 151 or the ones that are out?
No, like the ones that are out. Like the Alolans you can catch in Pokemon Go, you can transfer to Pokemon Go. Let's go.
All right.
But like it wasn't clear if they'll be in the actual game or not though. But like I could see them being in the game because without it, there's no dark types in Kanto. That's
which is a problem. I was trying to think, did any old Pokemon get grandfathered into having Dark type?
no, there's not a single one.
No,
There's
there was fairy types that got grandfathered.
Yeah,
in.
there was some fairies, and there's a single
steel.
steel type being the Magnemite line, but there's no
Magnemite.
dark Pokemon in Kanto. So
Also very sad that the original 151 aren't getting their evolutions. Like Zubat's completely pointless now without a Crobat.
You're stuck with Golbat.
Like,
no, I mean, I
nobody wants
imagine the in-game balance is fine if it's just contained to the 151. You know.
I mean, I guess they didn't balance.
I mean,
Gen
they
1
said
very
that
much.
the Pokemon encounters will be expanded from the original Yellow, so there will be more variety in each area, but that the levels will be similar as they were in Yellow. Like if you look, like the Clefairy you catch in Mount Moon is the same level as the Clefairy you would catch in Mount Moon in Pokemon Yellow. So, but what do you all think is the new guy, the new Pokemon? If you had to make a prediction. Missing no?
It's
Gorochu.
Oh,
Gorochu?
Yes.
That is it. If you don't know what Gorochu is, we learned recently. Just look up recently. We found out about a bunch of scrapped Pokemon ideas and designs from both Red and Blue and Gold and Silver. There are some treats in those betas.
yeah.
Look them up. But originally, Pikachu was planned to have a third evolution where it gained a second set of arms and was named Gorochu. Like the Mortal Kombat character, but like I don't think it was named after. But just what a weird coincidence. But if that's in Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu, I don't know what I'm going.
I mean, okay,
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Okay, not to joke for a second. I've seen a lot of people guess Gorochu or a new evolution, but I don't think the one new Pokemon is gonna be involved with just one of the mascots of these two games. You know,
Yeah.
when they're treating
And if they can't evolve naturally in the story, anyways, your
Yeah,
Sword
yeah,
Pikachu
exactly.
can. It would be weird.
so it's like you have to treat Pikachu and Eevee as equals in this, you know. So it's like I don't know, one getting a new evolution seems a little off to me.
that's why we're going for Mew3. All right, let's do it.
U3. Yep.
Mew
There
3
you
might
go.
be a thing. Remember Mega Mewtwo Y? It was definitely gonna be Mew 3 before we found out what Mega Evolutions were.
Mew Zero. I want Mew Zero.
I say it's gonna be a new legendary, and if they're really not gonna stick in with the Alolan forms and to kind of balance out the game, it's gonna be a dark type.
That would
I
be
just,
cool.
Well, it's just weird, right? Because I mean, this is a game kind of pandering to Gen 1 nostalgia, right? So like,
Mm-hmm.
Which I hate.
which whatever. But the new Pokemon, it can't be like a Zeraora or it can't be like a Hoopa, you know, because it's like that doesn't appeal.
Right.
to
It can't
the
be
kind of-
cool. It can't be
like-
cool. That's fair.
that kind of Pokemon is not going to appeal to the person you're trying to get to buy this game, you know. So I don't know what you do.
No, it could be, Muzzy.
I
Come on.
could. I think you're giving a little undercredit there.
Yeah.
I think one new Pokemon's okay. I think
No, but
I
if
think
it-
the
if
Gen
it was
1 people can
fucking
handle one new
Zeraora-
Pokemon.
No, but if it was like Zeraora, you think that's a special Pokemon to people?
Well, I mean, I don't
It's
think
like-
it might have it, like they might go and say, okay, approach this Pokemon design with the Gen 1 philosophy of Pokemon design. Like, sure, you can do that, but it can be a new Pokemon. That's fine.
I mean, I'm
you
not
know?
saying
like,
it can't be a new Pokemon. I'm just saying specifically the kind of mythicals we've had lately. I don't think fit well with the Gen 1, personally.
Right.
but-
Sure.
They're not cool enough. I mean,
Okay, yeah, okay.
Gen 1's not cool enough to have that. So.
I'm gonna leave that one alone. But
No,
yeah.
I'm just saying though. I mean, if you're like going by Gen 1 designs, they're very basic.
yeah. I mean, they're much more animalistic than they are now. You know, like that's
Yeah.
just sort of the nature of the beast. And so, I mean, yeah, maybe we'll get some weird thing that we never thought about. But I guess one other thing I should mention. This is just a cool feature. I missed it in my recap. There's local co-op with this game. Noah got his wish. Noah's one thing was local co-op.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh
That's a very
shit!
exciting feature. And I mean, it makes sense, right? Because like they said they want to take advantage of a home console for Pokemon because this is the first time, right? You've always been limited to this one per person device, right?
Did they actually explain the full scope of local co-op? Like, do you get your own
we don't know
Pokemon
the
in
full
there, or-
details. We just we do
If
know it's
you-
drop in, drop
they
out.
said that if-
though.
You
Like-
catch Pokemon. You can catch Pokemon together. If you catch Pokemon, you both get the Pokemon.
Yeah.
And they show a trainer battle where both of you are there. One of them has a Pikachu, one of them has a Bulbasaur. It's 2-on-1, which just feels really mean to this poor child that just has like a Rattata.
Yeah, that's what I
mean,
pointed
they
that
did
out
it to us
too.
constantly in fucking Gen 3.
So like
These
it
NPCs,
seems
they
like
always
the
went two
co-op
against one.
might break the balance of the game, but we'll see.
They said they're
probably
like
will.
they said it's a thing that's like couples can play or like a dad and a kid can play, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
or like a parent and child. So I think I don't think it will be balanced with that like in mind, but it'll be fun. It's fun to like catch
It'll
Pokemon
still be
with
fun
someone.
though. Yeah, no, absolutely, I get that.
And Pokemon's not a game that's known for like its tight balancing of difficulty in single player, especially early on, the first 3 gens. But that's Pokemon though. A lot of Pokemon talk, a lot of things to talk about. We'll hopefully see more about it at E3.
Also, this game will sell better than any 3DS Pokemon.
Okay, stop.
We're not. We're done,
I'm
and
just
I had a
saying.
nice
Just
transition
stop.
ready for
I
speaking of
want this
E3
on
and
record.
Nintendo.
Stop.
I'm gonna bulldoze right
record.
through you, Musa-Mill. I'm not gonna let you do it. At E3, we got another leak, but this one is a unique one because, frankly, I would have never. If this is a fake, congrats to the faker because boy oh boy, I would have never thought to have made a leak based around sign orders for E3. You don't think about that, but although at the booth, all the things you see around, these companies have to go to printing places and say, hey, make these signs for us. And so they got, someone got a picture of some signs that have been requested for the Nintendo booth at E3. Among the games on this list, there's a couple of games that we know about. Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, which was announced for the Switch a few weeks back. FIFA 19, Starlink, the toy game made by Ubisoft, Mario Tennis Aces. But on here we have a couple of games that we've heard of but have not been announced on Switch yet. Dragon Ball FighterZ, Fortnite, and Paladins are the 3 ports that are on here. And then 2 new games, Killer Queen Black and Overcooked 2. So I don't know if you know what either of those games are. Overcooked is a indie game that came out last year before last.
I think it was 2 years ago.
First one got ported to Switch last year, did very well on Switch, so it would make sense that Overcooked 2 would be on Switch. Very fun local co-op game where you're like managing a restaurant with people. Very hectic.
Good.
Very fun.
It's such
again, it
a
feels
fun game.
feels perfectly designed for the split Joy-Con setup. And Killer Queen Black is a unannounced. There's a Killer Queen account on Twitter that recently all went black after this leak happened, and hinted that something is coming. It's I guess an old Joust-like arcade game, and Killer Queen Black would be a remake / like update of that old arcade game.
So it wasn't a JoJo reference.
It was not a JoJo reference. There was a period of time where people, because this was not like a well-known game necessarily, so people were like, is this a JoJo game? And it's like, no, it's not a JoJo's game.
Apparently, this is super popular in Portland arcades and like there's like certain areas where it's just like it has a pretty decent following in like barcades.
Is this a Windjammer situation?
I guess so. I guess so. But yeah, it's interesting.
And then obviously, I mean, Dragon Ball FighterZ. We talked about on the very first episode of the Game Club of this podcast. Mm-hmm. We all like it. Mm-hmm. That's exciting on Switch. That game portable sounds really cool.
I mean, I'm gonna be annoyed because I'm gonna buy it and the season pass again probably, and it's like, god damn it, why did I buy this on PS4? But I'm happy we passed the fucking test, Bamco, with Xenoverse 2 after it sold ridiculous amounts. You know, we rewarded
and
for
still sold you the season pass.
And still did not come with the season pass. Rewarded for our patronage. You know, so thanks for that, Bamco.
And then the 2 biggies. Like, I mean, the biggest one here. I mean, Paladins is if you don't know what that is, it's an Overwatch ripoff that now has a Fortnite mode ripoff in the middle of it. So, I mean, I guess if Overwatch isn't coming to Switch, this is the closest thing you'll get. It's basically a skin for skin. Just it's the game. And then Fortnite obviously it's a big deal. It's a big deal. I think obviously we talk about Fortnite a lot. It's the biggest game in the world right now. And it being on Switch is a cool thing, right? Because like it's on mobile phones right now, but I think the idea of having a portable Fortnite with an actual controller is nice. I work at a school. Kids play Fortnite at school. They they play on their phones. They all know. I mean, I've asked them, I'm like, do you like playing on their phone? They're like, it's a way to play, but like I want to go home and like play with a controller. Like they say that to me, and so I think that there's a market of younger people that would like be like, yo, I can play Fortnite anywhere, but like actually be able to compete with other people because I don't have to move my finger to the top of the screen to shoot and hold it like it's a claw. Like,
and then you could bring your Switch to school and be the coolest kid in the class.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
The secret is Fortnite is selling PS4s and Xbox Ones, So like a lot of people who think that, oh, it's a late port, who cares? Fortnite's on everything. I don't think they understand, like there's people are buying consoles to this day for Fortnite. So I think it coming to Switch and just having that inherent advantage of being portable while having a real controller is going to be pretty cool for a lot of people. Also because you're going to be able to play in the same room with your squad. I don't know how much play that'll get, but I think just that's kind of a neat thing, Just imagine, me, Brandon, and Noah decide to squad up, and we're in the same room playing on our Switches. That sounds pretty fun.
It would be fun, and like, because that's like an era of gaming I really miss. Like, and I talk to people about that all the time. People who are like, "Oh, I love Halo," and I'm like, the thing about Halo, the original Halo that I loved, was like the link play, like people like linking their Xboxes together and everybody using a different TV, but all still in the same room. There was something really magical about that.
There's something to like when someone dies, seeing in the corner of their eye, they'd be like, man, and like throwing their hands up, like that type. I mean, don't throw your hands up if you're holding a Switch. You'll destroy your system. But just being in the room with people makes things. It adds a layer of like interaction that you just can't get over.
For sure.
So I think for Fortnite specifically, that'll be really cool.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess I should mention a Korean's rating board today rated Fortnite on Nintendo Switch. So.
Oh well, it's confirmed.
It's confirmed.
This leak is basically confirmed by like fucking Destructoid. Literally was like, we're under embargo, but yeah, we played some of these games. They exist. This leak is real. It's like, why would you do that? I think you did not read the NDA you signed. It's under embargo means
or know what the word
talk
embargo means.
Like,
this is a message to all game publishers.
Yeah.
All the meetings at E3 you were going to give to Destructoid before they did this, you can now get to the Jump Up Supercast. We are available.
Yes.
We will not leak these things on our podcast.
We will not.
Yeah, so just give it to us. Throw it over to us.
Also, it was also confirmed that those are the only games that Nintendo's going to have at E3.
Yeah.
I was going to mention this. This is confirmation that they're only games at E3. Obviously, it's not actually. If you don't know, they have over 100 booths at E3. This is a request for roughly like 40 of them.
Exactly.
Like 40 exactly. There will be a lot of other games that they will show up at E3. They're going to show Smash Brothers.
And I mean, like, not every game they show will be playable also, Like, first of all, this is
like
not
Metroid probably won't be playable
if
if they show Metroid.
This is not the entirety of what's playable at the booth, and even still, there will be games that will not be playable at the booth, So, this is... Yeah. I mean, this is an obvious thing, but you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
It's good to make it clear for people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a weird leak. The format of leaks are so weird now. Some guy's friend worked at a sign-making company, and that's how we got an E3 leak.
I mean, I think that's when you kind of know they're real. No one thinks about bullshit like this, Granted, next year there's going to be like 30 of these supposed sign leaks now.
No, you're totally
yeah.
right.
Because that's gonna
because now people have this idea, but like, I'll take these over the stupid, like, I don't know why this is such a thing when this has never happened. No one actually does this printout sheet of what is being presented. And just...
Yeah, that's my favorite kind of leak. I love it. Somebody just prints out a piece of paper and they just like, they go into fucking Microsoft Word and type out random shit and then they print it out and they take a picture of it.
Highly confidential.
Yoshi's Flippin' Island.
Yoshi's
Flippin' Island. Can't wait for that.
God, just freaking ticked off. But yeah, so I mean, I guess that's fun. We've had a lot of Switch heavy talk this week, but I want to transition a little bit. Last week we did a preview, sort of just like thoughts on the big three. We started last week with Microsoft, and we actually had a lot to say about Microsoft, and what they could do at this E3 because they're in a position where they have stuff to gain. Right, they're behind. They've got to catch up. This week, we're looking at someone in a very different position. Chronologically, next up on the E3 docket for the main three console manufacturers would be Sony. So, Sony's E3, they're in the lead right now, right? Mm-hmm. So you think, in some ways, it feels like the lowest stakes presentation. But Sony also sort of likes to present their conference as the main event. You know, they're the ones that are selling tickets to movie theaters. They announced that this week. You can go buy a ticket, sit in a movie theater and across the nation and watch the Sony presentation.
They've done that before with their other thing they do.
They do that every year, right?
Yeah.
But and they've really emphasized the idea of it being a show in the last 2 years, right? We come on stage. Here's a bunch of corpses hanging from the rafters for Days Gone that are gonna flop around. Here's an orchestra playing God of War music, and Sony has been on a hot streak recently. I mean, they just had God of War come out, a big title for them, one of the best exclusives they've had, sold well, reviewed great. They have Spider-Man coming down the line. They've confirmed the 4 big games they're focusing on at this E3 is Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, Days Gone, and The Last of Us 2. First party-wise, they're finally hitting their stride, and they've sort of been dead this whole generation prior to this, but they've reawoken. But, and this is the weird thing I was thinking about today as I was driving to work, Sony is objectively putting out the most games they put out all generation. They're being as successful as they have been this generation. But I feel the worst about Sony as a company that I have since the PS4 launched. And I don't know quite why. But I think a lot of it has to do with tone.
Yeah, I think it really does. I agree with that.
Because Sony, these last 2 years, while having these big, objectively good announcements, has just sort of... I don't know. I mean, stuff like crossplay, right? Stuff like backwards compatibility. Stuff where Sony, the company, is making decisions. They've had a lot of rough answers. You know, they've had a lot of answers that didn't feel satisfying, right? It was a very, I mean, when Jim Ryan is saying, who cares about backwards compatibility, to someone asking him about backwards compatibility, you can't help but feel bad reading that, you know? And so I think that, like, I have the question, I guess. Do you think that they should try to humanize themselves in some way at this E3?
I mean, they should, but they won't, you know? But, like, what do you mean by humanize?
Would that even be a good idea?
Well, I mean, in the last couple years, they've only had Sean Layden come out on stage.
Sure.
It's only been Sean Layden. He's come out, he said, we're doing a show. Look forward to the show. Here we go. Do you think that they need... I want to reference last year, right? Do you remember Mario plus Rabbids, right? That got leaked early. People said, what is this? What is going on? But then in Ubisoft's press conference, they obviously had Miyamoto come on stage, and Miyamoto say, this is my stamp. This is the Mario that you know I've looked over this. But they cut to Davide Soliani, I think is the way you pronounce his name. But he was the director for the game, and he was just crying, right? Like he just, I mean, like he wasn't like weeping, but you could see he was clearly choked up. Because this game he had worked on for years was finally getting shown off. And he got to see this guy who had, you know, he got to work on a Mario game and he got to be emotional about it, right? And I think that everyone, when they sort of saw that, who was paying attention, was like, oh, this is a game that was made by people with passion. You know, this was a game that was made by people that care about a thing. And I don't feel that with Sony right now. I don't
mean, the thing is,
know the
like,
people.
I need to see that.
So
with
shout out to the Unravel guy.
I can agree to what you're saying, Will. Like in the past, all of them except maybe Nintendo, like from the Wii generation, I guess, like they were very robotic when they presented their games. Like they were facing like customers. They weren't facing like, you know, they were being very typical businessman trying to sell you their products and all that jazz. But Sony continues to do that to now, but Microsoft has definitely like opened up, whether it comes to listening to all their their fans and like making changes based on those opinions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Nintendo just keeps getting more and more like.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo's executives are also memes, is the weird thing, right? And like, but like, I think that for Microsoft, a big turning point for their sort of public image was Phil Spencer being the guy on stage instead of Don Matrick. You know, Don Matrick was the quintessential I'm a businessman, and Phil Spencer's the guy that's on stage and is saying like, hey, I get it. Like, I make video games. I understand what you want in a video game, and we may not have everything right now because it's a process of making video games, but we're listening. And I think that, like, you know, I think that if you look at when God of War came out, Cory Barlog, right? He was the guy that was on stage. He talked about at PSX, which I don't even want to talk about PSX last year. It still upsets me. But, like, he did a lot of interviews. He did that video where he was reacting to the reviews. Like, he was willing to show himself getting emotional about his video game. And I think that, like, that PlayStation fans responded to that, right? They gave him nicknames. They made memes about him. Like, they were engaged with him. I think that they want someone to be attached to, like, and it was just a couple of years ago they had, like, Adam Boyes and Shuhei Yoshida, right? Shuhei Yoshida is just the most adorable man you've ever seen on the entire planet, right? You see him on stage and you're like, Shu, I just want things to go well for you right now. But, like, they've hidden him away. They don't let him come on stage anymore. And so, like, I guess what I'm saying is that, like, it's weird for a conference to maybe have more talking, but I think that just a little bit from a game developer explaining why they're excited to make the game they're making can do a lot for a game, actually, you know, if you let them be honest and authentic.
I mean, for me, though, I don't know how much I care about that versus I just want to see Sony actually take action, right? Like, I want them to do things like, hey, we're going to allow crossplay, you know? 'Cause it's just, the tone I get from Sony right now is, we're in first place, so we don't give a fuck, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And so no matter how much, like, okay,
yeah.
the games look good, I'm sure The Last of Us is gonna look amazing, and even if they bring a developer on stage to make me care about him, whatever, but if Sony doesn't change their tone, I don't particularly care for them, you know, like, I want to see them be more proactive in the way Microsoft is right now, you know, like,
yeah, and it's not entertaining either, as, like, I know it's not for our entertainment, right? But, like, I'm more excited to watch Nintendo and more excited to watch Microsoft, especially Microsoft, because it's like, with somebody, you're more excited to see the guy whose back is up against the wall come out of a fight, right?
Right.
Than you are to just watch the champ.
Like, Sony has the least to gain, I think, from this E3, right? Like, I mean, like, sort of all they really need to do, if we're being honest, is, like, show off those 4 games that they have and, like, have a Devil May Cry 5 announcement and, like,
yeah,
there will be a decent percent of people that are like, that was the best presentation of the show, right? People will say that.
Sure.
But I think that just because that's enough doesn't mean that they can't strive to improve, right? Because, like, when you're resting on your laurels, I mean, that was what late stage Microsoft was last gen, you know? It was them sort of being like, we can coast off the things we got. And then Sony suddenly came from behind and was like, hello, we're back. We've been waiting for a chance to strike. And
it's
I
just
mean,
like, I don't see how you went through that and then you're like, you know what, we're on top, we don't have to do anything more, right? It's like, you would think that you would realize, hey, this is the end of the generation, this is not the time to be letting the competitor earn goodwill, you know? This is the worst, because this is literally what we did. This is how we got back on top, you know? So I just don't know how they're this short-sighted about this late in the generation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, like, PS4 is still the best-selling console, like it was for God of War. God of War still is. But you're saying, in the long term, this stuff matters, right? And I think the E3 is a chance for them to change tone because it has so many eyes on them. I'm doubtful they will, but I think that it's like that it's a thing to look for, right? Because we know the games that they're showing off. They've said it themselves. So that was a little bit of a different thing than what we did with Microsoft.
The surprise will come from third-party games, so that's kind of weird. But yeah, whatever.
And, like, how many do we, like, because in previous years, Sony has extremely focused on first party at their conferences, right? Like, there's 1 to 2 third-party games a show. A very Nintendo-like thing, you know? Like, that was what Nintendo used to do but that's also because Nintendo had way less third-party support than
They
Sony
didn't have
does.
any
You know,
support.
like
They didn't have
they
a
had to out
choice.
of they had necessity. So I mean, we'll see if this year they let more third parties on stage. It's
I
still
think it
like
would be a mistake if they do what they, because the last 2 years, outside of small PSVR devs, which not even like they don't even show normal indie games anymore. They only care about indies if they're doing PSVR. You know, number one. But outside of those PSVR devs, though, the only third party games they've shown on the big stage are Destiny and Call of Duty. That's it. Those are the only two.
Well,
that they
and
give a fuck
Capcom.
about. And then the Capcom game. Yeah, sorry.
like they get Resident
Yeah.
Evil 7 and they
Yeah,
get
Resident
Monster
Evil 7
Hunter
was
World.
2 years ago, and last year was Monster Hunter World. You know, but that's it. That's literally it, right? So it's like, I don't know.
Like
maybe-
it's weird to me that Persona 5 never got on stage at a Sony show.
Yeah.
yeah.
It should be, right? Like you should like be,
And this
be
is the
maintaining
thing,
those
right? Like,
relationships.
I was all about the PS4 at the beginning of the generation, right? Why? Because, and I get it. I understand why they don't anymore. I understand like that's not the big sellers, but just for me personally, right? It's like I saw these amazing smaller indie devs, right? Like when Sony showed Galaxy, right? I was like, oh my god, this looks fantastic, you know? And then they're showing these smaller, weirder Japanese games, right? And they reveal Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3, and it's like, it's all these, for my tastes, you know, these Japanese games, these smaller indie devs. Sony doesn't seem to care as much about that anymore, and I don't know. I think that's kind of why I don't care as much for them these days. You know,
The weirdest thing is that like there was a period of time where I was like, I think they've got a good formula, which was that you put all those games at PSX, right?
oh
PSX
yeah, and that's
is
why I
a more
love PSX. You know,
Yeah.
but now that PSX has been stripped, you know, because 2016 PSX was amazing. They showed up like announcing 2 Yakuza games, you know, showing Crash Bandicoot. Like it was like a whole bunch of indie games, and it's like, here's these things that you as a hardcore PlayStation fan care about, you know, and they don't care about that as much anymore though. It's really only the big mass market stuff, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, and like that's just frustration on our parts. Obviously, this is what
I'm
we
not
wanna
saying this
see,
is how
know?
you sell more PS4s. Obviously, they don't need any help doing that, you know. But
But it's what we want, and I think
Yeah,
that's
but-
fine. It's fine to ask for things that you want.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, that was a little bit of a different thing than what our Microsoft thing was last week, because they're in different spots as companies, and they've told us different things about their presentations. But that was an interesting conversation. Thank you for having it with me. Now, looking forward, Muzi won the game last week underhandedly through winning Star Wars.
that was all.
Not
feel,
underhandedly.
Very
It was a
fair.
legitimate win, but it was a
Yeah.
frustrating one for Will. However, because we just had so much to get to this week, we may not have enough time next week either. We'll see. I don't have enough time for the game. But you know what we always make time for?
What do we always make time for?
The list!
The list.
Ah.
Last week, I brought a game to the list. Elite Beat Agents made it number 16 on the list. You know, could be higher, but it's fine. We're fine. It's fine.
The list is canon.
Hell,
It is. I
don't
wanted
have to
you
say
to
it to
be.
me.
I liked upset Will last week more than I like content Will right now.
Yeah, it's true. But this week, Noah is bringing a game to the list. Noah, what could it be?
I thought maybe we should add a little bit more music to our lives and put Donkey Kong on the list.
Donkey Konga?
What
My
kind
God.
of what? Where would you get inspiration like that from, Noah?
Gee, I wonder.
two music games in a row. Wow, what a thing.
Oh wow.
What a thing.
We're feeling the beat. That funky
Feeling the
beat.
rhythm and we're feeling the rhyme. Noah, tell us what Donkey Konga is.
It's a no. When is it a real? No, it's just.
It's
it's
a
actually-
rhythm
Were
game.
you about to ask,
Considered
is
a
it a
rhythm-heavy
video game?
It's just a rhythm
No,
game.
but it's like, what do you consider?
It's a rhythm game.
It's a rhythm game.
It's a rhythm
Is it
game.
considered
Oh, yeah.
rhythm game?
It's a rhythm game.
I guess.
For sure.
Yeah. I always thought the rhythm games are more like.
Well, you're not thinking of Jungle Beat, right?
wacky-
We're just on the same page here.
No.
Just to be clear.
Yeah. No.
No, you're talking about
Donkey
Oh, yeah.
Konga.
We're done with
I
Donkey
just
Konga.
wasn't 100% sure what the genre was called. Anyway.
It's rhythm.
Yeah. Rhythm game. You use the Donkey Kong bongos.
The
That's
DK
what the controller
bongos,
was
yes.
called. Yes. And it was like accessory for the GameCube,
Correct.
and it was actually when the whole idea and the concept came out, I was really into it actually.
Really?
It was funny because it was like right on the cusp of like what would become the biggest thing in video games. It was Guitar Hero and Rock Band instead, you know? Like
Yeah.
the idea of like physically playing an instrument, like I could see how
Nintendo did it first.
around the same time. But like, so I guess we should explain how the bongos work. There are two of them. You can hit on the inside and outside of them some to get extra points. And there's also a weird thing, and a clap. I don't know how it works, but it could recognize when you clap over it.
Yeah, some sort of microphone that listens in on.
Yeah.
For a clap.
But
Well, I mean, you could also tap on the side of the plastic, and that also registers a clap.
Yes.
So I guess it just took vibrations as a clap.
sure.
or just a high enough pitch sound.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? But that was the main thing of it. I would say the soundtrack was not a killer
Had
lineup.
No.
I mean, it had some popular songs from like the '90s. Had all.
No, that was Donkey Konga 2 at All Star. I remember clearly.
Was it that?
Yeah, if you ask me what game had All Star in it, I'll have the answer for you. It was the second.
I had both of them. I mixed them.
He has a list of every single thing that All Star has ever appeared in, from everything, including
It's
like
called My Brain. It's just all I
Yes.
have up here.
every movie, every TV show, every video game.
Yeah. It had a bunch of songs in it, but also had like a lot of video game songs as well, which I
Those were the
loved at
best,
the
I
time.
think.
It
Yeah.
had the Kirby
Like,
Right
it had
Back at You
Smash
theme
Brothers.
song.
Yeah.
What
remember
a wild one. What a great tune. Just go watch Kirby Right Back at You. That show's a mess. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's a very weird show.
But
Anyway.
Noah, I have the DK rap, obviously, of course. But Donkey Konga is a
course.
weird it's a weird game in like the history of video games. It's a weird thing to look back on now. Where do you want it on the list?
Which you could look
That
at.
being
in the
said,
face
even though I enjoyed it as much as I did, on this list, yeah, I'm gonna put it pretty low. I'm gonna go for. I'll put it under Other M.
Under Other M.
Now, okay. I would.
You
This
know
is
what?
going to be the weirdest argument we've ever had.
You know
What a
what? You know
weird
what, Noah?
comparison.
I was feeling that. I'm feeling that pick. I'm feeling that a lot, actually.
I don't like.
See,
I
I was
don't
going
give
to put
a.
it above Other M.
I don't give a shit about this game, but it's above Other M.
Eh.
Other M is an offensive game to my soul. Okay, fuck
Oh my
Other M.
God.
We're not putting it
This
below.
is the weirdest argument.
DK, like, whatever. This game is stupid. It's a stupid rhythm game where you control it with stupid bongos. I don't care, but it's above Other M. Jesus Christ.
Other M's
I can't agree with that reasoning.
Yeah, Other M's a pretty solid
Other
game,
M,
gameplay
the
wise.
redeeming qualities that people claim it has are not actual redeeming qualities. Oh, it functions. No, the gameplay is not good. Let me tell you about the gameplay
Nah.
of Other M. It's like
I don't want to interrupt, but I knew we would have the other M argument one day on this podcast. I knew it was looming. I didn't think the game it would be up against was Donkey Konga.
I mean, you're right. This is one of
This is the argument I've always wanted to have in my life: Donkey Konga versus Other M.
I've kept my thoughts on Other M to myself for a bit, okay? Because, we've been mostly reasonable about where we place games, but it's time we admit, because I know there's people in here who claim otherwise, but Metroid Other M is not a good game. Flat out. Just, no, it's not. Okay? Saf is here to agree with me. Oh, we have... Yes! Saf!
Saf.
I heard
Where would you put Other M versus Donkey Konga?
See, Donkey.
What a battle! What a
Right to
battle!
be summoned here. I would put it below Donkey Konga.
You would put Other M below Donkey Konga.
Yes!
I would agree.
I was summoned. I was called upon this.
So no,
Just for
here's
this.
here's the thing though.
Alright, yeah. Alright, go
About
on,
Other M.
Brandon. You wanna? We do. If you wanna have this fight, I'll have this fight. You tell me.
Yeah,
About
well,
Other
I
M.
mean, it's not fair for the fight to just be you bash on Other M without any actual defense for the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead. Defend it. Defend Other M.
All right. Other M as a Metroid game, as much as Paper Mario, as Sticker Star as a Paper Mario game, is offensive to the series. Yes, but as a game outside of a Metroid game, it is a better game than, first of all, Sticker Star was. Sticker Star was a almost pointless game to play. At least Metroid Other M has some parts of the game that are enjoyable.
Very. Yeah.
The combat is fun, and switching between first person and third person
is awful.
I'm shaking my head on that one.
It's a really cool gimmick. It just wasn't executed as great.
It doesn't work at all.
No, it's kind of works.
No. If this game,
it's a cool thing.
Oh no!
It's interesting. It's interesting. It could have been implemented much better, but it is.
That's like saying the blowing into a microphone to do an action is a good idea. That's never a good idea in a core game.
No. I feel like we had some argument recently. I don't even know if it was on this podcast about something in a game being interesting, an interesting idea, but being implemented super poorly. Oh yeah, Blink's the fucking time cat.
Okay, so what I would say though is I would agree with you if Other M had nunchuck support. The game is clearly designed with you to have a nunchuck in mind.
Yes.
The way you move in that game, the way that that you're supposed to go from third person to first person, if there was just a button you would press, it would make sense. But the fact that it's this weird sideways control, so a lot of the navigation of the game feels strange. It's stilted. You can only move in 8 directions in what is supposed to be fluid action game. And the fact that you have to remove all control for several seconds to be able to switch from first person to third person means that it's super hard in combat to actually implement it in a good way.
That's
if it was just a B button and you switched,
control scheme.
And it was like clearly designed that way, and I don't know for what reason they decided to change it to make it be sideways. But I think that just the base control scheme being not what the game was designed around. Donkey Konga was designed around those bongos, baby. You clap, it feels that clap. You hit the outside of those bongos, baby, they're bouncing. You're feeling it, okay?
Yeah, but the novelty for that wears off very fast. I bought the game. I don't think I bought it right when it came out, but shortly after, because I was like really on the fence, and I was like, you know what, I'll give it a try. And thank God for Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, because that saved me from regret for buying those bongos. Because while I had fun with Donkey Konga, I had fun for like a majority of like maybe an hour. And then I was like, I don't really care about playing this game ever again.
Meanwhile, I played Other M, and it tore through my being as I played it.
No, it did not tear through my being. I was just like, it's okay. I'll keep playing it, though. Like,
and like
I wasn't bored of it in an hour, though. I was
interested. Look at these
interested.
fake Metroid fans sitting in this cult.
like genuinely playing that game and seeing the way they portray Samus, hearing that awful voice acting, seeing that just terrible dumpster fire of a story, makes the experience worse. I don't want to hear this bullshit. Only gameplay matters, because that's false. And I'll talk about the gameplay too if you want.
Okay, tell me the great gripping fucking story in Donkey Konga. Explain that to me, please.
I would rather have no story than a story that offends me to the core. A story that strips 20 years of history of a character and a franchise.
You know what?
Strips it away.
I'm gonna play Metroid Other M
again. Okay. All right. So, this is part 1 of the Other M saga. There will be more parts.
I'm gonna replay through that game actually, like pretty soon. I might stream it actually. You know what? I'm gonna make a thesis.
I'm really scared of Brandon's next game club pick, to be honest. But I think the thing is that we're sort of settled in this debate right now between Donkey Konga of all games and Metroid Other M. So, Saf, I don't think my mind's getting changed. Moose's mind is clearly not getting changed. Do you think your mind's getting changed on this, Saf?
There's no fucking way that is lower than Metroid Other M. Much Another Life is just.
So are we? I mean, are we all in agreement that it goes underneath the Simpsons arcade at least?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay, so then number 26, Donkey Konga comes in on the list. What a choice.
I didn't expect to get that fucking reaction. Jesus Christ.
Noah, I didn't either. Dude, I'm still in shock. But there you go. You never know what you're gonna get with the list. But surrounding it above Donkey Konga, Crash Bandicoot at number 24, Simpsons Arcade at 25, Donkey Konga 26, Metroid Other M at 27, and Knack 28. That is the podcast for this week. I want to thank you all for listening. I will, I guess, do the plug. Saf, because it's your turn, you get the final phrase, so start thinking. But this is our podcast. We do it every Monday on all your streaming services of choice, as well as YouTube. We also have a game club that we are doing every week. Look forward to it this Thursday. It should be going up about Ys 1. Real interesting game. A lot to say about it, so I'm looking forward to having that conversation with the guys. And if you want to, the one other sort of tendril that we reach out to in terms of making content is on twitch.tv/JumpUpSupercast. Every week, Brandon is always guaranteed to be there on Wednesday evenings, being the best man he can be.
Except for this Wednesday, because my computer died. But, stuff happens.
Yeah, stuff happens. It's okay. We all live through. Right now, we're in a hectic time, so now we're not able to stream as often as we normally are. But after next week, baby, Will's going to be there on Tuesdays on the regular. Hopefully no delays, no heavy flooding in my area causing problems. And it's going to be just a fun time for everyone involved. Noah and Saf sometimes take little trips to Terraria to build a treehouse. It's overall a fun experience. If you want to find out when we are streaming, do that on the Jump Up Supercast Twitter account, primarily where you get the announcements of what we are doing. You also will find out then when podcasts are live and just general updates on what's going on in the world of the Jump Up Supercast. So do all that, of course, because, you made it this far. Obviously, you're sticking around for something. But all that being said, that was the podcast for this week. I want to thank you all for listening. And now, Saphir, it is time for your final phrase.
So, my final words. Playing games are fun. Playing games alone could be fun. But what's even funner is playing games with your friends. Especially when you want to play it. Especially if they're asking you about playing certain games. There's nothing more joyous than sharing that joy that they have when it comes to playing certain games that they want to play. Sometimes it could be Flip Wars. Other times it could be some free-to-play game like Fortnite. But as long as you're with your buddies, it's going to be a great time.